Now let us look at meningitis. So let's step into the subarachnoid space, though where the CSF is there and is flowing around the brain and spinal cord. It's cushioning the main important organs. Now imagine that this delicate space is becoming inflamed, and that is meningitis. So inflammation of meninges, of particularly of pia mater and arachnoid matter, along with CSF in the subarachnoid space. That is imagine. So going from, this is a bone of the skull, dura mater, we know PAD, we go from like that, and this is a pia mater, arachnoid matter, and the dura mater. That is a subdural space, and here, and this is the subarachnoid space where CSF is present, and above, okay, we don't consider that. Then we can see here, this is the subarachnoid space, and there is arachnoid villus. Then this is the arachnoid, this is the meningeal layer, and this is superior sagittal sinus. CSF is produced from the blood and is returned to blood. CSF passes from the subarachnoid space to the dural sinus via the arachnoid villi. Okay. Now, what is meninx? It is membrane, and itis is inflammation. So inflammation of the brain covering. Types of meningitis: infectious and non-infectious. Infectious is of bacterial, viral, and TB and fungal. Bacterial is more severe and it is an emergency condition, whereas viral is milder and aseptic. Non-infectious is caused due to drugs, autoimmune like Sjogren's, SLE, that is systemic lupus erythematosus, and due to malignancy. Can be there. Layers of the brain: dura mater, arachnoid matter, pia mater. Dura is outer and tough, pia is inner and delicate. The infection and inflammation, it mainly affects the leptomeninges, the arachnoid and pia mater, and CSF in the subarachnoid space. What actually happens at pathogen? It triggers, or it enters pathogen, it triggers and enters the body. It reaches the bloodstream, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it then enters the CSF. It causes inflammation of meninges. Okay. As a result, there is increased pressure, irritation of nerves, and altered brain function. Why symptoms occur? Let us see what are the symptoms. There are headache, it is due to the meningeal irritation. Then reflex muscle spasm, it causes neck stiffness. And inflammation causes fever, and cranial nerve irritation, it causes photophobia. Now we saw the symptom and the reason behind that, and we saw the types, and we have to understand that, so even mild meningitis is inflammation in the closed skull, so even mild swelling, it can increase the intracranial pressure, and it is dangerous if untreated. Now, neck stiffness, CSF analysis, and bacterial, viral, we know that. Now let's enter the body declaration, because serious infections are emergencies. Imagine a 5-year-old child brought to emergency room with so 5-year-old child brought to emergency room with fever, vomiting, seizures, neck rigidity, and that is meningitis. Brain, CNS, it consists of brain, spinal cord, meninges, the protective layers. They are normally sterile and protected by the blood-brain barrier. When organisms enter, rapid inflammation occurs and neurological damage occurs. Because the brain controls everything. Serious infections and medical emergencies. Typical early symptoms are fever, headache, weakness, or fatigue. If disease progresses, it causes seizures, altered consciousness, and focal neurological deficits. Initially, it will cause fever, weakness, and headache, and later it will cause seizures, altered consciousness, and focal neurological deficits. So till now, what are the things that we have? All the things that we have seen are we have defined what is meningitis. On this page, we have defined what is meningitis. Then we have layers of brain. We have understood the anatomy, okay, and then we have seen pathogenesis. Okay, the organism enters, it reaches the blood, then crosses the blood-brain barrier, enters the CSF, and then causes inflammation of meninges as a result. So result is what we have seen. There is increased pressure, nerve irritation, and we have seen the symptoms here, and the reasons are also we have seen. Then we have looked at here what these are the normal sterile protector. Okay, because the brain was in types on early symptoms and the early and late symptoms. Okay, so initially fever, headache, weakness, fatigue, but later it progresses as seizures, altered consciousness, focal neurological deficit. Types of CNS infections. What are those? Meningitis, encephalitis, meningoencephalitis, and brain abscess. We have to understand the difference between them all. Now, the structure involved in meningitis is only meninges. In encephalitis, it is the brain tissue. In meningoencephalitis, it is the layer of the meninges and the brain tissue. In brain abscess, it is a localized pus in the. Currently, we got to see meningitis. We have looked at the definition. What are the risk factors of meningitis? We have understand. Conditions that allow the organisms to reach the CNS. Those are sinusitis, spread of pneumococcus. Okay, CSF rhinorrhea. What is CSF rhinorrhea? CSF rhinorrhea. So it is a leakage of CSF from nose due to dural tear and skull-based defect, often caused by head trauma, surgery, or tumor. So what will happen is CSF it will be discharged from nose. Leakage of CSF from nose. Okay, skull-based trauma. Now CSF rhinorrhea, chronic alcoholism, then diabetes. How do you have to remember this? Is sinusitis, CSF rhinorrhea, chronic alcoholism, diabetes together. Then skull trauma, basal fracture along with CSF rhinorrhea. I have to remember, and hypoimmunoglobulinemia, gamma and splenectomy. Both of this is immunological causes. So there are basically 3 causes. These two and this. So skull trauma, basal skull fracture, it can lead to CSF rhinorrhea. So together it will be understood. And sinusitis also is similar. And this two together and this two, splenectomy can also cause. Splenectomy will also allow organism to reach CNS. Now think of it like if the barrier is damaged, bacteria will enter the CNS. Types of meningitis we have to see: acute and chronic, based on speed of the onset, fast onset, and slow progression. So fast is pyogenic bacteria, usually due to pyogenic bacteria like Neisseria meningitis, NSH we have to understand, NASH, it will do NASH very quickly, Neisseria meningitis, streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenzae, and the slow progression are due to MC, slow MC, and NASH will be done quickly. So mycobacterium, tuberculosis, and cryptococcus. What are the etiological agents of meningitis, like causative organisms? They are bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasites. Okay, so first of all, there is only bacteria. In units, these are first of all, okay, in units it is due to E. coli, group B streptococcus, Listeria monocytogenes, Klebsiella. E. coli and Klebsiella, so both fertilizer, group B streptococcus, and Listeria monocytogenes in neonates. Okay, then 4 in neonates, 4 and like N. 4. If 4 is written like this, it will look like N. So there are 4 causes that will cause meningitis in neonates. Now in children, we can see A, B, C is a third alphabet, so it has 3 causes, and those are NASH. In children's NASH will exist. In adults, only NS. In adults, only NS will be there, and in elderly, there is GLS, that is gram-negative bacilli, Listeria monocytogenes, and Staphylococcus aureus. In the neonates and in elderly, one is common, that is Listeria monocytogenes. Okay, here is Staphylococcus, here is Streptococcus, and here is gram-negative bacilli. Okay, now we have seen the viral causative agents, bacterial causative agents. Now let's see the pathogenesis. The bacteria, they will colonize nasopharynx or middle ear. So there will be colonization of nasopharynx or middle ear. An example, meningococcus in the throat or pneumococcus in sinus. Then there will be the bacteria will invade the mucosa. So let us imagine that this is a particular human being and he has throat here and he has sinuses here, like maxillary sinus and all those sinuses. So meningococcus in throat, your throat, okay? Meningococcus in the throat and pneumococcus in the sinus. Then what will happen? The bacteria will evade the mucosa and enter the bloodstream. Then there will be bacteremia. It will cross the blood-brain barrier. Let us now see blood-brain barrier video.
To keep before the barriers, the brain lines of the lines blood vessels known as the blood-brain barrier. All blood vessels are lined with endothelial cells. There are gaps to let molecules out of the blood vessel and into other tissues. But the endothelial cells that line the brain's blood vessels are really close together. That means only certain molecules can slip through and get out into the brain tissue. Some molecules, like water and oxygen, can cross the blood vessels walls and get into the brain. So can some fat-soluble substances like caffeine and alcohol. Other molecules in the brain needs, like glucose, can hitch a ride into the brain tissue with the help of certain proteins. But by and large, the blood-brain barrier doesn't let those drugs through, which presents a big problem in medicine. That's made it tricky to find treatments that work well for neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, stroke, and brain cancer.
So now that we have seen what is the blood-brain barrier, so the bacteria will cross the blood-brain barrier, it will multiply in the subarachnoid space. Before that, let us see how CSF production and circulation. So this is the choroid plexus they are showing. Lateral ventricle, then it will go to the third ventricle, then it is going to the fourth ventricle, then it is going around the. There is arachnoid villus and superior sagittal sinus. Okay, nice. It was a nice thing.
Welcome to the Spotlight video. We guide you to formation.
So. Last line is at arachnoid villi, CSF is reabsorbed into venous sinuses. So we have seen how the blood-brain barrier is, how the CSF is circulated, and when it goes into the superior sagittal sinus where venous blood is there, then so wherever the bacteria crosses blood-brain barrier, then it multiplies in the subarachnoid space. So it crosses blood-brain barrier in the choroid plexus of blood vessels. Then it goes into the CSF, and then along with CSF it goes to subarachnoid space where it multiplies. Then it releases. Then there will be release of cytokines and inflammatory mediators because a foreign pathogen has come, and there will be cerebral edema, and there will be increased intracranial pressure. So this mechanism is very important. Why is meningitis fatal? We have to understand because inflammation, it causes brain edema, increased ICP, reduced cerebral blood flow, eventually leading to coma, herniation, and death. So on this page, we saw how is the pathogenesis of the meningitis and how it is fatal because it causes edema, it causes increased ICP, it causes reduced cerebral flow, and it can lead to coma, death, and herniation of tissue. Then think meningitis in three stages: colonization in the nasopharynx, then bacteremia, then crossing the blood-brain barrier, and meningeal infection. Why are neonates prone to Listeria meningitis? It is due to these organisms. They are present in the mother's birth canal. So when the neonates when the fetus is delivered, it is infected with this particular organism and hence gets infected. What are the common organisms causing meningitis in children versus elderly? In children there were 3, that is N, S, and H, and in elderly there were how many? In elderly there were like 3, and out of them one is Listeria monocytogenes, and the two are gram-negative bacilli and Staphylococcus aureus. Then explain pathogenesis of bacterial meningitis. Why does meningitis cause increased ICP, and which viruses cause aseptic meningitis? We have seen aseptic meningitis in the other video. So on the next pages we'll be seeing clinical signs. Those are KB sign. We have a KB resort nearby in Loni and KB's agro resort, and on any time I go there I have to remember KB, that is Kernick and Brudzinski sign for meningitis. Then we have to see CSF diagnosis and CSF findings in bacterial, viral, and TB meningitis. Okay. Let us see what actually happens inside the brain in meningitis. Bacteria multiply in subarachnoid space, immune system reacts violently. On autopsy, brain shows dilated cerebral veins, thick purulent exudate pus over the meninges, inflammatory cells infiltration, and sometimes hemorrhage or infarction. And this is why meningitis becomes dangerous. The brain is literally surrounded by inflammatory pus, so it is pyogenic infection. And the clinical features of meningitis, let us see. Common symptoms, think of brain irritation symptoms. They are fever, severe headache, photophobia, altered consciousness, confusion, neck rigidity, nausea and vomiting. And the classical triad is acute bacterial meningitis is fever, neck stiffness, and altered mental status. And symptoms in neonates that can be seen are babies show different signs. Those are irritability, drowsiness, poor feeding, seizures. And the clinical signs are K and B, Kernick and Brudzinski. Kernick sign is this thing. Kernick, KE, that is knee extension is painful. So this is the knee, and we know flexion of knee is this and extension of knee is this. And whenever the knee is extended, it is painful. And in Brudzinski sign, N and K, Zinski, the neck flexion leads to knee flexion. So neck is flexed, it will cause knee flexion. So before, initially, the patient was lying like this, but the neck is flexed and the patient will flex his knees. And in this case, the knee extension was painful. We hold the patient like this, and we do this extension thing. That will be painful. So here, mechanism is of meningeal irritation. Flex the hip is flexed, and knee to 90 degree. Try extending the knee. Feels pain and resistance, Kernick positive. Why? Because stretching the inflamed meninges causes pain. The spinal cord, it is also covered by meninges. So if I stretch So if extension occurs, there will be stretching of the inflamed meninges, which will cause pain. And if pain is there in chronic positive, Brudzinski sign flex the neck forward, and positive sign is patient automatically flexes both the knees and hips. Okay, and its mechanism is neck flexion. It stretches the meninges, and the reflex hip flexion reduces the tension. Complications of meningitis. About 20% develop permanent complications. Neurological complications are hydrocephalus, brain infarction, and cranial nerve palsies. And example is 6 nerve palsy, 6 is abducens nerve, which will cause diplopia, and 8 nerve damage, that is vestibulocochlear nerve, it will cause deafness. And structural brain complications that will occur, that will be brain abscess, pus in the brain, then subdural empyema, that is pus in the subdural space, and brain herniation, the brain tissue will be herniated. Systemic complications will be septic shock, DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and hyponatremia. Then lab diagnosis, gold standard CSF examination. CSF is obtained from lumbar puncture. Location of puncture L3 L4 interface. When lumbar puncture should not be done if patient has raised ICP, and because it can cause brain herniation. But a meningitis patient will come with slight increased ICP. Then what will we do? Lumbar puncture won't be done, and from where would we take the CSF? Okay, let's ask again. And CSF collected in 3 sterile tubes. Then we do its culture and cell count. Transport rules are for bacterial culture. Transport at room temperature, and for viral isolation, transport on ice. CSF should not be refrigerated because many bacteria are temperature sensitive. Routine CSF test, doctor observe appearance of CSF, WBC, protein level, glucose, and let's see CSF findings in different meningitis, bacterial, viral, and TB. First of all, normal count. What is normal count that we have to understand? Here, normal count is not shown. That is very nonsense thing that we have done, but still let us understand this. WBC will be very high in bacteria, like 100 to 1000. In viral, there will be less than 1000. TB will be 50 to 1000. So coming from lowest to 50 to 1000 in TB, less than 1000, and 100 to 10,000. Most in bacterial. Then dominant cells in the CSF will be in TB lymphocytes. It's a chronic COPD like condition. No, don't bring that here. It's just a chronic thing. Viral also lymphocytes are there, and in bacterial there will be neutrophils. Protein levels in TB very high, in bacterial high, and in viral mild increase. And glucose will be normal in viral and low in bacterial and TB. Bacterial meningitis, we have to understand, will be neutrophils and low glucose, because bacteria will eat up the glucose. CSF microscopy will be after centrifugation deposit is examined, and stains used are gram stain that detects bacteria, Zen stain it will detect MTB, and India ink it will detect Cryptococcus neoformans and acridin orange. What will it do? Fluorescent bacteria detection will be there. Now wet mount, it is used for detecting free living amoeba. Example is Naegleria fowleri. And fungal causes are Cryptococcus neoformans, and the parasitic causes are Naegleria fowleri. Now let us go to what? This we have seen. Medium used free living amoeba culture for organisms like Naegleria and amoeba. No, not that page. We were here. Yeah. So this antigen detection rapid test like LAT, latex agglutination detection for Streptococcus pneumoniae for NASH, NSH, acute meningitis. Latex agglutination test. What is that test? Have I mentioned it anywhere? Okay. Now why is lumbar puncture contraindicated in this? Because it will worsen the meningitis. It will because it can cause brain herniation. What are CSF findings in bacterial meningitis? Low glucose and neutrophils in the CSF, as well as 100 to 10,000 WBCs, and protein is high. Okay, differentiate between viral and bacterial meningitis based on the CSF findings. So low glucose, normal glucose, 100 to 10,000 glucose WBCs, and here are less than 1,000. And protein levels are high in bacterial and they are slightly increased in viral. And the glucose I have told. And what remains is the dominant cells in these are lymphocytes and in these are neutrophils, which stain is used to detect Cryptococcus in CSF. For Cryptococcus we use India ink. Okay, India ink for Cryptococcus IIC. Why is CSF not refrigerated before bacterial culture? Because the CSF it is temperature sensitive and bacteria. And CSF should not be because many bacteria are temperature sensitive. Okay. Now coming on to culture of CSF. After CSF is collected, centrifuge deposit is cultured to identify the pathogen. Media used for bacterial culture, blood agar and chocolate agar. These are used because many meningitis bacteria are fastidious. They need enriched media only that in that nutrition condition they will grow. So examples are NASH, NSH. Now enriched liquid medium. Another medium is used BHI brain heart infusion or automated blood culture bottle. Now we are studying microbiology. Even if you don't know pathogenesis, that is okay. But understanding the lab diagnosis, everything starts in microbiology from here. Lab diagnosis, what is the lumbar puncture, when lumbar puncture is not done, how is the CSF collection done in 3 sterile tubes, one is for culture, one is for cell count, and another for biochemical analysis. Then what are the transport rules for bacterial culture, for viral isolation, then the routine CSF test, what we see in that, and to differentiate between the bacterial, viral, and TB meningitis. Then coming to CSF microscopy. In microscopy, what we do? Under the microscope, what are the stains that are used? The gram stains, Zen stain, India ink, acridin orange. And using that stain, what are the organisms that we are seeing? Then wet mount is used for amoeba. Then antigen detection using which test? Then we come to the culture of CSF using enriched media for bacterial culture, that is blood, chocolate agar, enriched liquid medium. Another medium like BHI. Then culture for other pathogens. Now this condition, this increases the chance of detecting bacteria when organism numbers are low. Okay, now culture for other pathogens like fungal culture, and the medium is used SDS, agar, dextrose agar. Also BHI agar is used, and 2 sets are incubated at 25 and 37 degrees Celsius. On 25 degrees Celsius, what fungal culture is formed? That is my yeast and what is that? Molds are at 25 and 37 is yeast. Okay, then that will help Cryptococcus to grow. Then another medium is used birdseed agar for Cryptococcus species only. Then free living amoeba culture for Naegleria, Acanthamoeba, they are the amoebae, they are parasites, single celled parasites. For them, what we are using? Non-nutrient agar we are using for them. Then MTB culture, what we are using? Then using automated mycobacterium culture systems because TB grows very slowly. It is a slow condition, and that's why we use automated mycobacterium culture system. Then viral diagnosis. How and what are the viruses to be noted in this meningitis are these enteroviruses: Eco, Coxsackie, polio, PCCE. Okay, Coxsackie, enterovirus, poliovirus. Okay, arboviruses, herpes virus, adeno, mumps virus. These are the causative agents for aseptic viral meningitis. Okay. Now how do we isolate them? The traditional methods are the tissue culture, egg inoculation, animal inoculation, but they are slow, cumbersome. So modern labs prefer PCR. Now identification of organism is important. Once bacteria grow in the culture, their identification is there. Your culture and now identification. So it is done by biochemical test, automated system like BTEC, and multi-top mass spectrometry. Now then antibiotic sensitivity testing is performed. Okay, here we had seen that first we do culture, then there is for cell count, and then there is biochemical analysis. And biochemical test, automated system, and multi-top. Then antibiotic testing is performed. So, and again serological test. What are the serological tests that detect antigen or antibody? And examples are of NASH, NSH, Neisseria meningitis, Streptococcus pneumoniae, and NSHH for Haemophilus influenzae. In units also check for group B streptococci and Listeria monocytogenes. Okay, then viral meningitis diagnosis is for that best test is IgM ELISA. Why? Because IgM It quickly increases acute infection antibody. So it will increase quickly. So IgM ELISA is best for viral meningitis diagnosis. Then another test is LLT, that is Limulus lysate test. It is used to detect bacterial endotoxin. And mechanism, what is the mechanism? Let us see. Blood cells of the horseshoe crab. What is horseshoe crab? It is called a Limulus polyphemus. Let's only understand Limulus. So Limulus is a crab, and its blood cells, they coagulate in the presence of endotoxin. So if a particular bacteria is there, its endotoxin will be released, and the crab, whatever is there, its blood will be coagulated in presence of that endotoxin. The blood will be coagulated due to this bacteria, for example. Let's see. Okay, and this makes it extremely sensitive for gram-negative bacteria. And this is Limulus lysate test for bacterial endotoxin detection. And again, another test is urine antigen detection. Some microbial antigens can also be detected in urine. Example, Streptococcus pneumoniae antigen, Cryptococcus neoformans antigen. Another test is PCR-based molecular test. What is modern diagnosis uses PCR? We know that disadvantage is very fast, high sensitive, works when culture is negative. Okay, this is important. At very low concentration of antigen also, PCR detects the pathogen, and it is used to detect pathogen DNA in CSF and detect MTB also. Multiplex PCR panels can detect multiple CNS pathogens simultaneously. Okay. Now, treatment of meningitis. Let us see what is the treatment. It must start immediately after clinical suspicion, even before the culture results. This is called empirical therapy. Antibiotics principles are given. They use broad spectrum antibiotics initially. They must cross the blood-brain barrier, and we have to give parenterally by IV. So first line therapy by age. For neonates, what we do? Meropenem and vancomycin. For neonates, children and adults. One thing is common, that is vancomycin is common. But what are the differences? And in children and adults, ceftriaxone and ceftriaxone. Both these are common. Okay. And in adults, A for ampicillin is given. And neonates, N for neonates and NM, M for meropenem. It is also given. So in neonates, vancomycin plus meropenem. In children, vancomycin and C for children, C for ceftriaxone. And in adults, ceftriaxone, vancomycin plus ampicillin is given. Alternate regimen includes cefotaxamine and gentamicin. Okay. Special treatments for viral meningitis or encephalitis are, if it is viral, then acyclovir by IV. Fungal meningitis, liposomal amphotericin B. Okay. And amoebic infection is there, so give metronidazole or natamycin. Fine. Now, bacterial meningitis, we saw CSF finding. TB meningitis, we saw. Looking at the questions, why must antibiotics cross the blood-brain barrier in meningitis? Because they have to kill the organism pathogen in the CSF, right? Which culture media are used for CSF bacterial culture? And they are the enriched media. Also, BHI is used. Enriched media is chocolate agar and blood agar. What is the principle of this? That the crab's blood will coagulate in the presence of bacteria's endotoxin. Why is PCR preferred in modern meningitis diagnosis? Because PCR, it will detect the pathogens presence even at slow concentration. What are the major viral causes of encephalitis? Encephalitis, I will try it later. Now, complete meningitis flow, nasopharyngeal colonization, bacteremia, crossing blood, BBB, multiplication, CSF, vitamin, and neural damage, and fever, negativity, altered mental status, CSF, bacterial, what standard test is CSF examination? Why are antibiotics given intravenously in meningitis? Which test detects bacterial endotoxin using horseshoe crab blood? Limulus lysate test. What is the diagnostic test for the viral is? PCR. Best diagnostic test, no, IgM ELISA, sorry. Viral meningitis diagnosis best test is IgM ELISA. Then talking about why should treatment begin before the culture results? Because the acute damage, it fast in onset, and it can cause very much complications if not treated as early as possible. Which drug treats cryptococcal meningitis? And that is cryptococci meningitis. Cryptococci are what? They are fungi. So antifungal agent is what was that? Amphotericin B. No, amphotericin it was not. Treatment for fungal. No, amphotericin. Yeah, amphotericin B for fungal meningitis, and for amoebic that is metronidazole natamycin. Okay. Fine. Now let us see acute bacterial meningitis, pyogenic meningitis. We know NASH, NSH, but other are Pseudomonas klebsiella and other Enterobacteriaceae. Meningococcal meningitis. Agent is Neisseria meningitis. It mostly affects children from 3 months to 5 years and the young adults. Crowded, semi-closed communities, in them these outbreaks occur, like hostels, military barracks, and schools. They are crowded, semi-closed communities. And what we're talking about, the meningococcal meningitis. Transmission by respiratory droplets, reservoir human nasopharynx only, no animal reservoir. Carrier state, 5 to 10% carry meningococcus in nasopharynx. During epidemics, carry rate up to 90%. So let us imagine a hostel, military barrack, school in which there are carriers. They carry meningococcus in their nasopharynx, and they then they sneeze, and there are respiratory droplets, and they're transmitted. And they most commonly affect children from 3 to 5 years and young adults live here. Okay. So, and during epidemics, carrier rate is 90%, and in general, it's 5 to 10%. Okay. Morphology of which organism we are seeing? Meningococca. Which of the Neisseria meningitis? It is a gram-negative diplococca. Then oval, kidney-shaped oval. It is arranged in pairs like this. Okay, flattened adjacent sides, mostly inside neutrophils. So under CSF microscopy, we can see what Neisseria meningitis. It is gram-negative diplococci. Intracellular gram-negative diplococci in polymorph. And examination description, gram-negative intracellular diplococci in polymorph. We have to write like this. Then talking about meningococcal disease. Now the organism, it can produce 3 conditions: meningitis, meningococcemia, septicemia, or asymptomatic nasopharyngeal carrier the patient can become. Imagine a 7-year-old child who is presenting with fever, headache, vomiting, convulsion, neck rigidity, petechial rash. Now in the signs, Kernig sign is positive. Kernig is extension of knee. During extension, there is pain and resistance. And other thing is that Kernig positive and disorientation. CSF findings show increased polymorphs, that is 1000 per mmQ, and protein is also increased, glucose is decreased. And this is suggestive of what? Bacterial meningitis. So meningococcal meningitis treatment is IV ceftriaxone. Contacts ciprofloxacin prophylaxis. Antigenic classification. Now based on the capsular polysaccharide, 13 serogroups exist on Neisseria meningitis. But okay, ABC, YW134, and association with A is with epidemics. These are the antigens. Okay, on the capsular polysaccharide. 13 serogroups are important, are existing, and based on these antigens, there are various associations. The Y and W134 is important because it causes meningitis cases, and others is this epidemics, outbreaks, and localized outbreak. Virulence factor, we have to see capsule, it prevents phagocytosis. Virulence factors are nothing but the 4 weapons that make the organism survive. So capsule, it prevents phagocytosis. Endotoxin, fever. It causes fever, shock, and inflammation. IgA protease. IgA is nothing but mucosal print, and IgA protease it is. So it destroys the IgA. Immunoglobulin is nothing but a protein in the respiratory mucosa. So this protease that is formed by the Neisseria meningitis, it will destroy the mucosal paint, antiseptic paint, and hence there will be colonization of bacteria there. Now factor H binding protein, it blocks the complement activation. So phagocytosis won't occur. Now pathogenesis we already know. What colonizing the nasopharynx, invading blood stream, release of toxin, endotoxin, damages vascular epithelium, then cytokine, nitric oxide release, systemic inflammatory response, microthrombosis. Now adrenal hemorrhage, shock, multi-organ failure. This explains severe meningococcal septicemia. There is one new thing what we can see there: systemic inflammatory response, microthrombosis, and adrenal hemorrhage that will cause shock. Clinical spectrum: meningitis, meningococcemia, fulminant meningococcemia. So meningitis symptoms we know mortality and complications. Meningococcemia features are petechial rash. Okay, in this question there was petechial rash, and this gave the finding of meningococcal disease. And there is malaise, fever, chills. An organism may be isolated from the rash lesion. Then fulminant meningococcemia is also there. That is called as Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. This is in pathology, Waterhouse-Friderichsen. So how do I remember Waterhouse? There is a house in water, and that is serving fried rice, and there is a son of the owner, and he is serving fried rice. So Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. It is fulminant. Fulminant, what is its meaning? It describes condition typical disease symptom that develops suddenly, rapidly, and with great severity or intensity. So it is extremely severe condition, and its features are shock, DIC, adrenal hemorrhage, multi-organ failure, and there is a complement deficiency. Okay. Lab diagnosis: CSF, blood, nasopharyngeal swab, and skin scraping from rash. Microscopy: intracellular gram-negative diplococci. That is Neisseria meningitis. Then antigen detection, latex agglutination test. It is what latex particles are coated with specific antigen or antibodies. If corresponding annihilate is present, if in the patient sample the particles bind together and form a visible aggregate, indicating a positive result. So latex particle is there. It is coated with antigen or antibody. If corresponding antibody or antigen is present in the patient sample, it will come and bind to the coating, and then there will be the formation of a visible aggregate, and then the result will be positive. It is useful when patient already received antibiotics. Okay, latex agglutination test. And the culture we use that for growth, chocolate agar, blood agar, 5 to 10% CO2 we use, and 30 at 37 degrees Celsius. And selective medium that we use is modified Thayer-Martin medium. For Neisseria meningitis, selective medium we use for growth is modified Thayer-Martin TM medium. Okay, Neisseria meningitis. So this Tata Marathon, Thayer-Martin modified medium, and 5 to 10% CO2. Why are military barracks prone to meningococcal outbreaks? Why? Because there is crowding, and there are reservoirs, and they transmit through respiratory droplets. Okay, that can be okay. Then what is the microscopic appearance of Neisseria meningitis in CSF? In CSF, microscopic appearance is they are the diplococci in pairs. So they are cocci in pair or diplococci, they are gram-negative, and they are intracellular, like in neutrophils, like that. So in CSF microscopy, we can see gram-negative diplococci. Their shape is this. They are arranged in pair and flattened adjacent. Location mostly inside neutrophils. Yeah. Then next question is which serogroups of meningococcal most meningitis cases? That is Y and W135. Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. And why does it occur? It is very extreme thing, fulminant meningococcemia. And why it occurs? Because there is complement deficiency, and because of this deficiency, the antigen it cannot be destroyed, and the features of this are the like shock, DIC, adrenal hemorrhage, and multi-organ failure, and it is very severe condition. It is rapidly occurring, suddenly occurring, and severe. It has great severity. Why is latex useful in partially treated meningitis? I don't know its answer. I will have to find it. Fine. Now looking at this meningococcal infection, yeah, we can see this. These are what intracellular neutrophils के अंदर है ये diplococci of Neisseria meningitis. This latex agglutination detects meningococcal antigen in CSF supernatant. Here is the answer. Latex agglutination is useful after antibiotic therapy because it can detect bacterial antigen that persists in the body fluids even after bacteria have been killed and culture have turned negative. Okay, the bacteria are killed, but the antigens are still present. And in this agglutination test, that test can detect the antigens. Okay, culture. For its growth, the conditions required are these: atmosphere 5 to 10% CO2, media is this, and colonies appear grayish, round, convex, smooth, glistening, non-hemolytic. Biochemical identification of meningococci and meningococcal diseases, they are caused by what? Now coming on to the biochemical identification, how colonies appear of meningococcus. Now these are the meningococci, Neisseria meningitis culture, and the colonies they appear green or blue. This is not that will not happen in this case. So look, here we can see grayish, round, convex, smooth, glistening, non-hemolytic, transparent or grey shiny, 1 to 2 mm colonies after incubation pass the data CO2 capnophily. Now coming to biochemical identification, tests that are in the results. Now catalase, oxidase, glucose fermentation, maltose fermentation is positive. Sucrose and lactose is negative. This pattern helps distinguish it from other Neisseria species. Okay. Now molecular diagnosis, PCR detection for meningococcal DNA in CSF blood used for rapid diagnosis. Now what is the treatment of meningococcal meningitis? DOC is IV penicillin G. Alternatives are ampicillin, ceftriaxone, cefotaxime, cefotaxime. For carrier eradication, we use ciprofloxacin and ceftriaxone. Prophylaxis, treatment for prevention is close contact have high infection risk. So they receive the chemoprophylaxis. The drug is ciprofloxacin, and immunity after injection is serogroup specific. Now there is meningococcal vaccine also. There are of two types: polysaccharide and conjugate vaccine. Polysaccharide, it contains capsular polysaccharides. Types are bivalent, trivalent, tetravalent. AC, ACW, ACW, and Y. Protection only for 3 years, no herd immunity. Not effective before 2 years of age. And conjugate vaccine, their advantages are better immune response they provide, and they are monovalent C, monovalent A, and tetravalent AC, YW. These are capsular polysaccharide linked to protein carrier, conjugation with protein carrier. It was only capsular polysaccharide. Now, OMW vaccine used in some countries targeted serogroup B meningococcus. Now, what is neonatal meningitis? It's a newborn baby with immature immunity. Neonates highly susceptible to bacterial meningitis. Now, two types exist: early onset and late onset neonatal meningitis. Early, that means within 1 week of birth, and late onset means 2 to 12 weeks after birth. Transmission from maternal genital tract during delivery, and presentation is meningitis and septicemia. It is often severe, and late onset, its source is environmental infection present with mostly there is septicemia rather than meningitis. Here is meningitis along with septicemia, but here is mostly septicemia rather than meningitis. Causes can be early onset and late onset causes. First of all, Listeria monocytogenes, then Streptococcus pneumoniae, Streptococcus agalactiae, group B Streptococcus, then E. coli, Enterococcus, and gram-negative enteric bacteria. For late onset, it can be E. coli, group B, Listeria, then Streptococcus pneumoniae, Neisseria meningitis, Staphylococcus aureus, cons, Staphylococcus aureus negative. Okay. Group B Streptococcus agalactiae. It is important neonatal pathogen. Its habitat, it colonizes in GI and GU tract. Now, risk factor maternal vaginal colonization during labor. Virulence factor, polysaccharide capsule, the particular organism. It has a polysaccharide capsule. It helps the bacteria escape phagocytosis, and clinical infections in neonates, meningitis, arthritis, osteomyelitis, conjunctivitis. It causes respiratory infection, peritonitis, omphalitis, endocarditis. This particular group B Streptococcus causes. Then in adult sepsis, skin infection, respiratory infection, and UTI in women caused by group B Streptococcus agalactiae. Now, lab diagnosis for group B is culture one, it shows tiny colonies with wide beta hemolysis. It is important. And CAM test is done, in which there is what? Streptococcus, the group B Streptococcus. It is streaked perpendicular to Staphylococcus aureus. And the result is what? There is enhanced hemolysis forming an arrowhead pattern. Arrowhead hemolysis is occurring. And this conforms group B Streptococcus. Here is negative, here is positive. Okay. And treatment is empirical. That means before even culture is done. Ampicillin and penicillin duration for up to 21 days. Which chemical sugar does Neisseria meningitis ferment? It ferments glucose and maltose. It does not ferment sucrose and lactose. Okay. And what is the other question? Why is lat useful after antibiotic therapy? Because of the bacterial antigen still coats with the latex, and it can be seen. Which organism causes most early onset neonatal meningitis? It is Listeria meningitis. I think the answer is group B Streptococcus. Early. Causes most early onset neonatal meningitis. Group B Streptococcus, Streptococcus agalactiae. Principle of CAMP test. What is the principle of CAMP test? CAMP का full form क्या है? It is Christy Atkins Munch Peterson. Christy Atkin Munch Peterson. Christy Atkin. Christ अटकला आणि Munch Peter. Peter ने Munch खाला. So CAMP factor produced by the GBS acts together with beta lysine from Staphylococcus aureus to cause increased RBC lysis. This particular it produces GBS. It produces CAMP factor, and it acts with the Staphylococcus aureus that produces the beta lysine, and together it causes increased hemolysis. So there we can see arrowhead hemolysis. Now the next question is, why does maternal vaginal colonization with group B Streptococci cause neonatal meningitis? Because of the vertical transmission during childbirth, where bacteria it colonizes the newborn skin, nasopharynx, or GIT. Due to immature immune system, bacteria invade the bloodstream, cause sepsis, then breach the blood-brain barrier and infect the CNS. Now talking about listeriosis. What is it? It is a foodborne CNS infection. Contaminated food is entering the body. Bacteria involved is here Listeria monocytogenes. Okay. In case of this maternal vaginal colonization, the organism involved was GBS. That was causing meningitis, neonatal meningitis. In case of neonatal meningitis, the causative organism is GBS. And in case of listeriosis, the causative organism, the main important causative organism is Listeria monocytogenes, which can survive conditions that normally kill bacteria. Now it can grow even in refrigerators. That is how outbreaks occur through stored food products. It is important. And it is, listeriosis, it is a foodborne CNS infection. So even refrigerated foods can transmit the disease. And epidemiology is what? The host, the organism. So humans acquire infection through contact with infected animals, inhalation of contaminated dust, or eating contaminated food or milk. Organisms survive extreme conditions: low temperature, low pH that means extreme acidic condition, and high salt concentration. These are conditions used for food preservation, we know, right? And yet Listeria still grows there. And monocytosis is a common hematological finding in listeriosis. Monocytes are okay. Listeria monocytogenes. It's how does the organism look? Its morphology. It is gram-positive, short rods are seen, non-spore forming, and habitat usually soil, water, sewage, animal, bird, fish, tick, and crustaceans. So in nature, in the sewage, we can also see animals, birds, and in the water we can see fish and ticks and crustaceans. Crustaceans have prawns. Okay, and we can get contact with infected animals and inhalation of contaminated dust. Okay, pathogenesis. The virulence factor that makes the organism survive is Listeriolysin O. It allows the bacteria to escape phagosome membrane inside the cells. Because of this, bacteria survives inside macrophages, spreads through bloodstream, and crosses the blood-brain barrier, as a result causing meningitis or encephalitis. Protection mainly depends on CMI. T cells activating the macrophages. Clinical features: in neonate transmission occurs during birth. Two mechanisms: in infection in utero or infection through infected birth canal. Disease can happen: meningitis and septicemia. In immunocompromised or elderly, root is foodborne infection. Disease it causes is meningoencephalitis, and in pregnant women, possible outcomes are abortion and stillbirth. Other manifestations are Listeria may cause abscess, conjunctivitis, pneumonia, urethritis, pharyngitis, infectious mononucleosis like syndrome, and endocarditis. So that's conjunctivitis, pharyngitis, endocarditis, and others are abscess, pneumonia, urethritis, and yeah. Lab diagnosis through blood, CSF, cervical secretion, vaginal secretion, meconium, cord blood, culture media, blood agar, incubation environment, parts of CO2. Tumbling motility of Listeria monocytogenes. Tumbling motility at 25 degrees Celsius and 37 degrees Celsius, non-motile. Reason flagella are produced optimally at 22 to 30 degrees Celsius. So at 20 degrees Celsius and 25 tumbling motility, but as temperature increases, flagella no, so non-motile. Growth characteristic aerobic or microaerophilic. Growth between 30 to 37, slow growth at even 4 degrees Celsius. Call these hemolytic on blood agar. Serology, antibodies against listeria may be detected, and treatment first line drugs are ampicillin, cotrimoxazole, and gentamicin. Cephalosporins are not effective for meningitis. Ampicillin is the drug of choice. We have to remember this. And prevention is 2 major preventive measures: proper food handling, good personal hygiene. Early diagnosis in pregnancy is important. And now let us see chronic bacterial meningitis. It is a chronic condition, and the cause of chronic can be bacterial, fungal, non-infectious causes. Non-infectious can be autoimmune disease, neoplastic disorder, fungal, these streptococci, histoplasma, coccidioides, and plastomyces. Bacterial, MTB, important. MTB is the cause, or C for cryptococcus we had seen, and Treponema pallidum is another bacterial, Lyme disease. Okay, and the inflammatory CSF profile that persists more than 1 month, and symptoms include headache, nausea, vomiting, raised ICP, cranial nerve deficits, and focal neurological signs. Neurological focal deficit, tennis, sugar, stroke, seizure, subdural hematomas, subarachnoid hemorrhage, space occupying lesion, tumor, AVM, what is AVM? Aneurysm, abscess, spinal cord syndrome, somatoform, sclerosis. I don't understand. Cranial nerve deficit and focal neurological signs. Focal neurological signs. Okay. And coming on to why listeria can grow in refrigerated food, because it can grow at even 4 degrees Celsius. It is slow growth. And why is cephalosporins ineffective in listeria? I don't know. Then I have to search. Why does tetanus? No. What is chemical mortality of listeria? Listeria, tumbling mortality. And which organism cause chronic meningitis? So there are bacterial, fungal, mycobacterium tuberculosis, cryptococcus, and non-infectious causes are what? Autoimmune disorders or cancer. That is neoplastic disorders. Okay.